suddenly everyone has to deal with them. And the one person who doesn't have to deal with them is the one person who's not paying attention.
Thank you guys both for talking to me today about the show.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. Congratulations on a season 3. Not a lot of shows get to get this far, and you guys are chugging along, so that's awesome. But my first question for you both is: season 3 introduces the Mule as a key villain. How does his introduction and threat upend your character's world and existence?
Well, my character doesn't really ever know about the Mule because he doesn't really care about anything that's happening outside of himself. So I play a really fun Cleon this season where he's pretty much checked out the idea of being the Emperor, and he just wants to, kick back and take drugs and, just enjoy himself. So the galaxy is kind of crumbling and falling apart in lots of different ways, and the introduction of the Mule is this mutant of chaos, kind of entering out of nowhere while everyone is kind of dealing with their own little political problems here and there. I think suddenly everyone has to deal with them, and the one person who doesn't have to deal with them is the one person who's not paying attention.
And well, she's definitely paying attention, and she is carrying the responsibility for him also. And I think for her to have hold of the Prime Radiant and to be able to see things, kind of forecast things that will happen, and have all that information, forms her this season very much, because also it's the fate of the dynasty, it's the fate of the humanity, but at the same time, it's her fate. Like, what's going to happen to her if things end, if things get destroyed? Like, where does it leave her? Is it a new beginning, or is it an ending for her? And I think she's very confused in that, and she's kind of contemplating on the past and the future, and then there's this sadness or melancholy to her that kind of it feels like she's spiraling inwards. So she's very aware of what happens in the galaxy, and at the same time she's very concentrated on her existential crisis. So it's like two different parts of her that are pulling to different directions.
This is for both of you, but you kind of touched upon this a little bit, but can you guys both kind of talk about more of what makes this season 3 really unique, especially regarding how your characters are portrayed on screen and what you guys get to explore that you haven't been able to do yet, and this season allows you the opportunity to do that?
Well, I mean, you start.
Well, from Demerzel's point of view, we learn so much more about her, because she's been for all these seasons quite silent and secretive and observing and kind of operating from behind. And now suddenly there's also a new character brought to the palace who finally has ears for her, takes a moment to listen to her, or she's forced to do that, but anyway, there's someone that she can open to. So we learn about her, and we see more of her, that her inner struggle is suddenly more visible for us. So it was really fun to play with that. And in general, I think, bringing the Mule to that energy to the whole story, like, that character is so unpredictable, and yet you want to see what is he going to do, what is he how impossible that character can be. And then having Pilu bringing his energy, he was just amazing, and also surprisingly different than anyone of the other cast. So it was a very fun season from many perspectives, I think.
I don't know if you had anything to add, Lee.
Say what?
Thanks, Russ.
I said I don't know if you had anything to add, but
Oh yeah, I guess it's just that I think that what's a little different about my character is that he's not trying to save the day. He's just not paying attention, which I think is. In a way, it's kind of funny, and I think it's also the story is not about like a big battle; it's about the disintegration of society. So I think it really says something that the Emperor is checked out.
Hi, Russ. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm Russ Milheim from the Direct. Thank you so much for talking to me today about the show.
You're welcome. Looking forward to chatting to you.
Now, going into season 3, there's been a 152-year time jump. Can you tease how, Harry Seldon has changed since audiences last spent time with him?
Well, the Harry Seldon that's on Ignis, they are trying to create a second foundation, and they're over 100 years late in getting it started, so that they have a lot of catching up to do. The Harry Seldon that's in the vault, well, he's been sleeping the whole time. He's been in, so he's just waking up to be able to handle and greet the third crisis. So he's had a little bit more of a cushier time.
Yeah. A nice little nap. Everyone needs a good nap.
150-year lap, yeah.
Yeah. Now, season 3 also introduces the Mule as a key villain. How does his introduction and threat upend your character's world and existence?
Well, the Mule more or less invalidates psychohistory. I mean, if the rationale behind psychohistory is that it is capable of being able to predict the behavior of large groups of people, and you have one person who can coerce the behavior of all mankind, you've got a useless tool at that point, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, the Mule is the outlier that he's always feared that's finally come into existence.
Now, I got to squeeze in a really quick, unrelated question for you, and ask the question you love to hear. What is the latest update on Sherlock Holmes 3? Because everyone is dying for it, and we're still waiting.
Yeah, I keep taking that down, and someone keeps putting it back up. I have no idea. No one's talking to me about it, and I really wish people would stop asking me.
That's fair. But that's good to know that it probably shouldn't be on IMDb in the first place.
It shouldn't be on there. No one's talking to me about it. I have no clue.
That's fair.
That's Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. Now, for my last question about Foundation, what is something in season 3 that you were able to explore with Harry that you haven't been able to in previous seasons?
I think the biggest switch is the Harry Seldon in the vault, and the realization from what he had from season 2 is that he's undergoing an existential crisis, essentially. He's realized that he's no longer in charge of his own story. He's not even in charge of his own mind. Someone's gone in there and edited it, and that is causing him a profound crisis of confidence, if you like, and of identity. That's probably the biggest switch.
My first question is just, there's been a 152-year time jump coming into this season. Can you tease to audiences how Gaal has changed since we last saw her?
She's taken responsibility and become a leader, I think, and it's amazing to see. She's kind of taken her whole experience and everything that's happened to her, all the losses, all the trauma, and is teaching a big group of people how to do these amazing things, and creating an army, creating, this second foundation that are infiltrating, every corner of the galaxy. She's got spies everywhere. It's great. And she's really just stepping into her own.
On a bigger level, obviously Gaal has changed a lot, but so has the world that we're going to arrive in. How does that present as an entirely different existence for audiences to engage with in this season?
I think what's special about Foundation is that every season is different in that sense. Like, we'd always jump. However many years, so you get to see a different iteration of where we're at with these characters and the advancement of technology and the changes and the evolution of what, the world looks like. It's cool. I like the idea that everyone's kind of on the same timeline, and that these characters are living in the present moment, and there's no more time jumps, really. So yeah, it's a cool. You get to see a bunch of new planets as well, which is really exciting.
Season 3 introduces the Mule as a key villain. How does his introduction and threat upend your character's world in existence.
I mean, everything is pointed towards him now. You know, he is now the biggest threat. Whereas before, you know, the Foundation versus Empire, that's always been, you know, the case. And now we've both got a common enemy. And he is scary and it's daunting and we don't know what he's going to do next. So, yeah, he's the big bad wolf.
The scope of this story is so incredibly large, just the show as a whole, you know, in every way. How do you work to ground yourself in that world and in everyone's elevated understanding and perspectives that is always changing as the show progresses?
Well, I just think it's a very relatable. I think if you strip away all the sci-fi ideas and all the grandeur of like all these worlds and these planets and these, you know, the technology of it all, it's really just telling stories about human beings trying to survive. And that's relatable to us all. You know, it's yeah, you can follow that pretty easily.
With season 3, what is something you felt like you were able to explore with your character that you have never done before, and that will be fresh and new for everyone watching?
She becomes pretty action-centric, which is cool, because that's not a very Gaal thing. She's very intellectual and very about the math and about, you know, I can't get the word out, sorry. But yeah, she's a little bit more physical and action forward, and it's really cool to see her and kind of what Salvor, kind of the gap that she left. She kind of fills those shoes a little bit this season, and that's pretty cool.